I'd rather spend a little more on a fewer number of less known watches.
Yeah.
Or I'd rather spend less on a watch that nobody's ever heard of and at least know nobody's ever heard of it, even if it's a cheap watch.
Welcome to Watch Smarts, where smart people get smarter about watches. I'm your host, David Newman. Let's jump right in. Watches and their stories. I don't know. It's amazing. We're going to find out more about collecting watches, obsessing over watches, and the peer pressure that can get you into this hobby, because my guest is Mr. Steven Shapiro. Welcome to the show.
So good to be here. I'm not sure I have an obsession, but a strong desire and love of watches.
Well, that totally counts. That totally counts. And you probably know some people with the obsession.
Oh, yeah.
So,
yes.
But tell us a little bit about what's your backstory and how did you come into the watch universe, and what first intrigued you or got you interested that watches could be a thing?
Yeah, I think it's been a more recent thing, certainly within the past few decades. So it's not a childhood thing for me. I think it just came from talking to a couple of my buddies who had some really cool, interesting watches, and they had like maybe one watch, and they were ridiculously expensive watches, and they were cool watches. And I think just, hanging around with them and talking about them, you just sort of get caught up in the excitement of it. And so I don't have the coolest watch collection in the world, but I do love seeing them. I go to stores and sort of salivate over them. They always ask me to wipe my mouth when I'm in the store. It's embarrassing at times.
Just bring your own napkin. Bring your own napkin.
Exactly.
No problem. Steve, what was the first watch that you remember buying with your own money? And do you remember what it cost? And do you still have it? And tell us about that.
Whoa, that's an interesting question. I, for the life of me, could probably not give you an answer to that. I really don't have a strong recollection of watches growing up. I know I had them. I'm pretty sure I had them. Like I said, it's probably only a more recent thing. I mean, when I say recent, I mean decades, not months or days or years. But I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's just, you sort of get caught up. I'm sure there's some infomercial that I saw with some watch, which is probably where I got my start.
And you wear the watches. Do you also sort of rotate the watches, or what's your philosophy on collecting versus wearing in the rotation?
I always try to wear my watches. I don't have any digital watches, because I think if you have a digital watch, you just sort of wear that all the time. All of mine are mechanical watches of one form or another. And one of the things that I do, which is sort of interesting, maybe a little different than most people, is I match my watch to my outfit. And one of the things that I do is I match my watch to my ring. So I don't have just one wedding ring. I have multiple wedding rings. And so depending on which wedding ring I'm in the mood to wear will determine which watch matches it. So if I have a stainless steel wedding ring, for example, I would want a steel colored watch. If I have a rose gold wedding ring that I'm wearing, right now I'm wearing a rose gold wedding ring. So I would wear my rose gold watch, or one of my rose gold watches. So always try to match the watch to the ring first, and then the watch then matches my mood or my clothing.
So I have never heard of this. We have to take a little bit of a detour from the Watch Smarts podcast, and we're now going to do a mini episode called Ring Smarts. Ring Smarts. I've never heard of multiple wedding rings. So, number one, how does your beautiful bride handle this? Does she also have multiple wedding rings? And how did you come up with that idea?
I actually think it was her. She was the one who liked the idea of having multiple rings. So instead of just a diamond, maybe you have a sapphire, you have different colors, and you can wear different rings to match your mood. And so why should we wear one ring all the time when it's still a symbol of our love, we just have multiple symbols of our love. And so, yeah, from early on, we both had a lot of wedding rings or engagement rings or whatever types of rings. And for me, because I'm into watches, then it became, well, I have to match the watch to the ring.
So did you get all of the wedding rings at the same time, like close to the time you got married, or you're always adding to the collection of wedding rings?
I've stopped adding now, fortunately.
Okay, but
yeah,
it was developed over time.
It was developed over time, and I have a nice little case of watches, and I have a nice case of rings, and it just, the different moods strike me, and so they all have the same meaning to me, but they're different watches for different feelings, different moods, different clothing, different environments. If I'm going to a fancier thing, I really do like I have a couple of rose gold watches that I really like, and those sort of fit my fancier mood.
Yeah.
If it's an everyday, I tend to go for something that's more, steel color, silver, or whatever it might be. And here's the thing, as guys, we don't have as many clothing options, really. We have a shirt and we have pants.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of jewelry that we typically wear, and there's not a lot of clothing options that we have. And so what I like is, at least with the rings and the watches, it gives a little more ability to mix things up a little bit and match your mood to the jewelry.
Yes. Well, and I would say 99% of guys who are married, they have only one wedding ring, and now their only piece of jewelry through which they can express themselves is their watch. But you've doubled up on that. So you've brought some fun watches, some of your favorite pieces. Tell us about the first one, or show us the first one, and then tell us about the first one.
I don't have a favorite necessarily. Like, for example, I have one of the things that I am known for is wearing Coca-Cola t-shirts. They're red, and it's not so much that I'm promoting Coca-Cola, but the material, the cloth that they use in these t-shirts is like the best. So I have, of course, a Coca-Cola watch. You got to match the watch to the clothing. Same thing if going to Disney. I've got my Mickey Mouse watch. So those are obviously pretty low-end watches, but I love them because they're an expression of who I am, and they sort of match how I'm feeling in the moment. One of the first nicer watches I think I got, and this is from I think it's actually from the UK. It's a Marvin watch, and it's sort of an interesting looking, this is a rose gold color one. What I like is the inside of the leather is red, and just the shape of it, it's sort of a thicker, and it sort of fits the wrist nicely. So I really like that one. Just feels really cool.
Yeah, that's a square case with a very nice curve to it, so it really hugs your wrist. And also with the curve, the lug-to-lug width does not look so big because it wraps around. Yeah, that's beautiful.
I mean, I have smaller wrists, so I love the fact that it's not a flat back there. So that really works nicely for me. One watch I love, this is a watch from a client of mine. So I was in Kuwait, and as I do, they took me around, and one of the places we went to was a shopping mall, and happened to walk past a watch shop. And I was commenting on this watch, and as a parting gift, they gave this to me. What's really cool about it is, so it has a leather strap, it has a couple of different faces on it. You can see a couple of different types. But what's cool is it is one of the only watches where it's reversible. And on the back side is the sporty version, which looks sort of like a race car, and it's got a rubber exposure. So it looks like I'm wearing a rubber strap, and it's a Korloff. This is probably my most expensive watch. It's just a very cool, it has 4 different separate mechanisms in it. And I just love that it's, I think one of the only, if not the only, it's a patented watch band design. So you can actually reverse the watch band so that you can wear 2 different styles. One is sporty race car and the other one is dressy. So I love that watch because I think it's very interesting.
That is so incredible. Do you remember what the price point was on something like that?
This one I think is a couple thousand, somewhere in that ballpark. So that would be probably my fanciest watch that I have. And I love it partly because of the sentimental reason. A client giving that to me as a gift was spectacular beyond my wildest imagination. So it's I just think it's such a funky, cool watch, and always gets comments. It's sort of a thick, you can see from the side, if you're looking at it, you can see there's like, it's a thick watch. And just the fact that it's reversible the way it is I think, quite unusual.
And what sort of vintage is that, or what time frame did you get that? Like early 2000s, 2010s? Do you remember when?
Yeah, this one was maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, okay. So not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
A little pre-pandemic action, 2018, 2019.
Yeah, I think that would be about right. And then I have, this is sort of an interesting watch. If you're watching it on the video, you'll see it's called a tourbillon. And a tourbillon is most tourbillons are like 50,000, 100,000. There's $1 million tourbillons. And basically, they are watches within watches. There's a piece that actually rotates. And the general thought was that if you have both mechanisms moving, it'll keep better time. I don't know if that's the case, but all I know is it's a pretty interesting piece to see the middle of it sort of rotating around. And I don't know, I thought it was a very cool watch. Also, even the strap, I like the strap on this one. It's not your typical one. It's sort of the one where you sort of slide your hand into it and it locks on this way. So it's a little different. So, and then you just go beep, and that's how you take it off. So it's, I don't even know how you describe that one, but butterfly clasp or something like that, I think is the term.
Quick commercial break here to ask you, have you seen all of the cool resources, downloads, and guides waiting for you at watchsmarts.com? Go check it out. You'll love it.
I'm just curious. So you're asking me about, but I'm also curious, like your watches, how do these, I know you love watches. You've shown some of the ones to me. If you had to choose a watch that you think is your favorite, what's your favorite and why?
Well, unlike most collectors, most people get into the hobby. They say, I'm just going to start and I find a watch that I love, or a watch was given to me as a gift. But the watch I really want, my holy grail, the holy grail watch is X. And like most things in my life, Steve, I did this backwards. And my first serious watch was my holy grail watch. So it is my Rolex Pepsi GMT. And I got that in 2015 to celebrate a big business milestone. And I wasn't really bitten by the watch collecting bug at that point. I had a few cool Timexes, I had a few Casios, but the Rolex, I wore the Rolex every single day for 6 or 7 years. Didn't even look at other watches. It's like, no, I've got the ultimate watch. What do I care about watches? I don't care. And then one day, someone, points out, oh, hey, I have this cool watch. I thought, oh, that is a cool watch. And then, someone else. And then I start watching YouTube videos. Then I start reading. And then I start buying books. And then we're in full blown, oh my gosh, I need to start collecting watches. So I started looking at, just watches that I like the cosmetics of. So some diver watches, some really designy, kind of funky, fun watches. I'm a huge fan of Seiko. I love the Seiko watches. I love the Timex, Casio, Bulova. Bulova makes some amazing watches. So aside from this like $10,000 Rolex, which is my sort of ultimate holy grail watch, most, if not all of my other watches are less than $500. There may be like, break that ceiling a little bit, $600-700. But most of what I'm collecting, and in my collection, I literally have watches from $10. Speaking of cheap Chinese watches, I do have a $10 watch that looks really sharp, really cool looking. So $10 to $10,000, most of which is in, let's say, the $150 to $500 range. But to me, it's about variety. So we haven't talked about this privately, but I'll share it with you now. I can sometimes wear 2 or 3 watches in a given 24-hour period. I'll start the day wearing something, and then, midday, I'm going out or having lunch with a friend or whatever, change watches. Then maybe we're doing something at night, and then I'll change into a third watch. And it's weird because I'm used to having one horological gem on my watch day in, day out, 24/7. Well, I don't sleep with it, but 24/7 as far as wearing a watch for years and years and years. And now I'm a 2 or 3 different watches per day kind of guy. I probably have about 40 in my collection right now. And I also love colors. I'm a big dial guy. So thank you for asking. We're kind of flipping the microphone here, but I love weird colors. Like I love, yellow dials, red dials, green dials, the Tiffany blue kind of dial, gray dials, purple. I know you're a big purple guy. Purple's kind of your company brand. Purple watches are hard to come by. They don't make a lot of purple watches.
Yes, they are hard to find. Do you have one?
I have a Casio, but it's a Casio MTP. It is it looks like a Rolex Datejust. So it's a very plain face, just regular markers. And then it's got the bezel, right? The little bezel around it. And that comes in all kinds of colors. So I probably have 3 or 4 of the colors. I have a red one because it's like $100 watch. So it's, and Casio does make some great analog watches. If you're new, you probably think Casio makes digital watches. You're thinking G-Shock. You're thinking the calculator watch from the 1990s. But they make some beautiful analog watches, both quartz and otherwise. So, yeah, that's my story. But let me get back in the host chair because we're here to talk to you, my friend. We're here to talk to you. So you shared a little bit about some of your great pieces. Do people in your life notice or care about your watches?
I think because most of my watches make a statement, typically yes. When I choose watches, I want something that's bold but not ostentatious. So I don't like things that are too blingy, and I don't want anything that's too huge. I mean, I know there was a period of time where the watches were like the size of saucer cups on your wrists, and that was never really my thing. So I tend to love, when I choose watches now, not so much in the beginning, but when I choose watches now, they're almost always a self-winding watch. I don't want a quartz watch anymore. To me, it's like having to deal with batteries. Just, I don't like, but I also feel like the mechanisms behind a mechanical watch makes a difference. So like another watch that I love, anybody who's watching this can see, now nobody's going to be, it's just a mechanical watch, self-winding watch. But you might appreciate this. If you look at the 12, the 6, the 3, and the 9, they're actually suits of a deck of cards. So this is actually based. So one of my speeches, one of my books, is based on deck of cards. So this one has 4 different suits at those markers. So I love that one, and I love the subtlety of it, because then when I show people, like, whoa, that's really cool. That you have something that matches it. And again, it's a mechanical watch, so I don't have to worry about batteries dying. I think Mickey Mouse here, I think he's died a long time ago, and unfortunately I haven't had the chance to go get his battery replaced. So I love anything that's self-winding or a wind-up. I think actually my Tourbillon is not self-winding, but is a wind-up watch, which is sort of interesting. But I love watches that are, the skeleton watches to me are the coolest, because just seeing things move around is just a lot of fun.
I'm going to ask you a tough question, but I have to do it. It is my fiduciary responsibility to our listeners. Steve, if you had to choose a desert island watch, wear one watch for the rest of your days, which watch would you pick, and what is special about it?
Would this be from my watches or from?
No, from your current collection. Yes,
from my collection of watches.
But we'll talk about the second one also, because that's also a fun question. But from right now, let's talk about your current collection.
Ooh, that's an interesting question. Look, if I'm on a desert island by myself, I'm the only one who gets to enjoy my watch. Can't replace the battery, so automatically it eliminates a quartz watch. I would say probably the one I just talked about, my poker watch, because it's self-winding. It's, I mean, I just love looking at it. I mean, to me, it's interesting to look at. I guess if I'm on a desert island, I don't even care what time it is. So I want something that entertains me. And
That's right.
having the movement is what would entertain me, being able to look at the skeleton and all the things going on. So yeah, I would say probably that one or something like it.
Fair enough. So now on to the question I did not ask, but that you thought I might ask, which is what is the ultimate desert island watch that you might not own yet, but you have your eye on?
Well, I have my eye on and I will never own. So I remember I was in Las Vegas in one of the stores. I think it was in the Venetian. It was like a $500,000 tourbillon. Actually, I think it's a double tourbillon. And just the mechanics, I couldn't even remember what brand it was, but it's just the mechanics of a double tourbillon is just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's $500,000 to me is also mind-boggling. But as far as watches, one of the watches I've always loved, they're not ridiculously expensive. They're not even considered to be great watches necessarily, but there was something about the Bulgari has a watch. It's a blue wristband and a blue face, and the color of the blue just popped so much, and the face was clean but looked really nice. So I loved looking at that watch. You know, it's maybe a under $10,000 watch.
Wow.
Probably even, well, I don't know what it is now, but when I was looking at it in the past. So I think I do like having variety though. So to have a watch,
yeah,
I think the reason I never got a really expensive watch is because I just like looking at them. They're just cool to look at. And like when I look at Mickey Mouse watch, even if he's not working, it still makes me smile.
Sure.
So I think that's really, for me, the key.
Do you display them somewhere? Do you have like a watch winder where you put the automatics so that they don't wind down? What's your storage strategy?
Yeah, I don't have a watch winder. I thought about that. But given that the watch winders cost more than some of my watches, I just never bothered with it. But I have boxes. I have 3 different cases, glass cases that they go in.
Yeah.
And I look at them. Sometimes I take them out and I look at them. Most of the time they sit in my drawer. So that's what was so awesome about having this conversation. It gave me an excuse to go in there and look at them and take them out and look at them and say, hey, which ones do I want to share with the world?
Absolutely. When you're out and about, either you're out speaking, you're at a business function, you're, hanging out on the weekends, out with friends, whatever. What is it that makes you look twice at a watch? Someone's wearing something and it just catches your eye. What is it that catches your eye?
It's going to typically be either the mechanism, like if it is a skeleton or something like that. I just really love the movement. So you can actually see what's happening on the inside. The color in a lot of cases. So maybe there's something about the wristband or the face. It's like some of the faces just really pop with color. And yeah, those are the main things. It tends not to be, I love this watch because it's a high-end fancy brand.
Right.
It's just, I like the look of it. I'm less brand conscious and more just like looking at something that's nice to look at.
Hey, David Newman here with a quick commercial break. Have you seen our social media channels that have video snippets from our favorite interviews? Check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Now, back to the episode. I'm wondering if you would have some advice for the person who is just beginning their watch love affair or watch collecting journey. In your experience, or even going back to when you were early on in watch world, what's something that beginners focus on that actually doesn't matter that much?
I mean, a lot of people go for the name, which, look, it's great, especially if you're going to get a nice Swiss watch. You're going to have great mechanisms, and then you're not even paying for the name, you're paying for the work, the workmanship, the craftsmanship on it, and I think that's a really important thing. So, look, if that's it, great. I would go though for, what makes you happy versus what you think other people. I mean, I know there's certain watch brands that you get this, everybody thinks that you're awesome. And I don't know. I found some of the people who impress me the most don't have the more common watch brands. I would also say for myself at times, as I did fall trap to buying some watches through television, I think like my tourbillon. I love this watch, but it's a it's a TV brand. I mean, I paid more for this than most because it is the mechanism that you're paying for in this one, but I'm sort of like almost embarrassed with certain brands that are just sort of like, everybody's got them, as opposed to the ones like my Marvin watch. What I love about this is it's not a ridiculously fancy watch, but nobody knows the brand. But it is also a high quality watch. And so I think I'd go for quality without going for a common brand name, maybe something even a little more obscure. Like, for example, my personality poker, my poker watch, the one that's this one, this was a really inexpensive watch, but it's a brand nobody knows. So nobody's going to look at it and say, oh yeah, that's a $50 watch. It's like, I don't know, it could be 50, it could be 500. Nobody would know.
It could be 5,000.
Could be 5,000.
Yeah.
So I like having obscure brands.
Sure.
Because I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I think one thing which I did one time is I bought, what are they? They're not counterfeits. They're when they're replicas. They're like, so this is like a Hublot style watch.
Oh yeah.
And I love this. It's not by them, but it doesn't have their name on it. So it's not a counterfeit. It's a homage, I think is the proper term for it.
That's right.
But then I don't wear this watch because it's not. And somebody who knows watches would look at it and say, okay, well, that's not a Hublot. It's not counterfeit, but it's not real. And it's like, then you sort of devalue it. So that's another thing which I probably would do is just get watches that either nobody knows that doesn't look like another watch.
Yeah.
Have your own statement. Make your own statement.
You mentioned that you regret buying a watch of a certain brand. I'm wondering, in you surveying the watch world, blogs, magazines, YouTube videos, what have you, do you feel that there is an underrated watch or watch brand? And then similarly, is there an overrated watch or watch brand that kind of hogs too much PR above and beyond what it might deserve?
I don't know about underrated. I don't even think overrated. I think they're all value in however they're valued. I think some of them just are, I'm just totally flaky. I don't have any by this, but there's a brand that's like you go into a rest stop on the highway, they will sell, I can't remember the brand, but they're like everywhere.
Invicta.
And they're beautiful.
Invicta.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, they're actually really nice looking watches, but they're so pervasive.
Yes.
That I feel like in some respects it detracts from the beauty, because some of the watches are really beautiful watches. I've seen them. Some of them I thought I'd really like this, but everybody has them, or everybody associates them with, the being available everywhere. And I'd rather spend a little more on a fewer number of less known watches. Yeah. Or I'd rather spend less on a watch that nobody's ever heard of, and at least know nobody's ever heard of it, even if it's a cheap watch.
That is such a great twist. I love that. You know what? Let's find a really obscure watch that no one knows. No one knows the value. No one knows the price, but they go, ooh, that's a cool watch. So it's funny when you said it's available in rest stops. There is only one brand of watch that is literally, quote unquote, available in rest stops. I happen to like Invicta watches.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of them are over the top. A lot of them are way too big. A lot of them are just goofy looking. But the ones that are classy, the ones that are, really a little bit different, that are not, they make some nice homage watches too, like maybe 3 or 4. I think their real strength is the quirky, different, funky kind of watches. I remember you and I were emailing back when your personality, not your personality poker, you're not playing with a full deck. Not playing with a full deck book was in the publishing process. And I didn't realize that you already had a watch. So I said, hey, do you like this kind of watch? And I sent you a screenshot of this kind of casino themed Invicta watch. Now, you can find all kinds of watches. I don't think anyone else has that kind of crazy, wild casino theme with the roulette table and the cards and the dice and everything that was on there. Some people love it. Some people hate it, but no one's going to have a watch like that other than Invicta. So for things like that, where it's just wacky enough to be unique and fun, I think that might meet the criteria of no one knows what the heck that is, but it has a meaningful message to you.
Yeah. I mean, for something like that, I would absolutely, because I looked at that watch and I'm like, oh, let me think about that one.
Right.
I think the issue is it was the wrong suit for me in personality poker, which is, sort of a personal thing that most people wouldn't understand, but it was a cool watch that would make a statement that would still fit with my brand. So in that situation, yeah, I would have absolutely 100% considered that watch. I've seen some watches that have like roulette wheels where you can actually spin the ball around.
Little ball is in there, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many different. So, for something like that, yeah, brand then becomes, it's not about the brand, it's about the design.
Yeah.
And you asked the question before, it's like, what would catch my eye if I'm looking at somebody's watch? If somebody's got some poker cards and roulette wheels and all that other stuff on their wrist, it would catch my eye and I would not even care about the brand because it's the watch itself that would make the statement.
Yeah. Do you actually sometimes stop people and say, ooh, that's a cool watch, or tell me about your watch?
Yes, quite a bit. And it's interesting. Some people get really excited about their watch and other people are like, oh, just a watch. So it's but I do, if I see a cool watch, I'll usually comment on it just because, and I don't have long conversations. Maybe now I will, like, hey, what's the backstory of that watch? I love that idea, but I'd only just say, hey, great watch. And people say, thanks.
Well, we have two pieces of business to take care of as we're landing the plane here. One is our lightning round that I ask all of our guests. And then after that, I will ask you if there's any final thoughts or parting words of wisdom that you'd like to share. But first, our lightning round, just very simple A or B kinds of questions. And my first lightning round question to you is strap or bracelet?
Strap 100%. I just don't like the feel of bracelets.
Okay. Vintage or modern?
I would say typically more modern. Vintage mainly, and the reason why I'd go against most vintage is the face sizes are typically a little too small for me. I had a couple of vintage watches and just didn't really like them.
I think I know this answer based on our previous questions and previous conversation, but I got to ask anyway. 1 great watch or 5 good ones?
I think I'd take 5 good ones.
That's what I thought. Buy new or hunt for pre-owned?
I am a new guy. I would rather just have something that's never been on some. Look, if I was getting a really expensive watch, I might consider a pre-owned, but none of these watches are so expensive that I would want one that's already been on somebody else's wrist.
And then loud watch or quiet watch?
Quiet.
Nice. Well, my friend, final thoughts before we wrap up, or any just parting words of wisdom to the beginning or emerging watch enthusiast?
I consider myself a beginning, emerging watch enthusiast myself. I mean, there's always so much to learn. I have some great books that I bought. So I guess I would say, look, if you're interested in this and really want to get into it, the best thing to do is buy some. I mean, I've got like a nice coffee table book, which has just some of the most beautiful, most expensive, and some reasonably priced watches in the world. But they talk about the design, the mechanisms behind it. And I think watches aren't appreciated till you really understand what goes into making a watch or how watches actually work. And then it's like, wow, that's really pretty cool.
Yes, totally agree. So I love the idea of books. Are there like magazines, blogs, YouTube channels that you also are a fan of?
I used to have some magazines I would get. I can't remember what they were, but I haven't in a while now. So I think I think what happened was during the pandemic, I stopped wearing watches. Plus, I'm in Florida, so I tend to wear them less.
Sure.
Because I'm in shorts and t-shirts a lot.
Yes.
But I think this is sort of re-energizing my interest in getting back to wearing my watches. I mean, if I'm speaking, always wearing a watch. If I'm out, not in a t-shirt, always wearing a watch. But I think I want to get back to putting a battery back into Mickey so I can wear him when I go out and enjoy his company when I'm traveling around.
Absolutely. Well, and also one thing I just recently learned about is there are these solar watches. And a solar watch is a quartz watch that gets its power from the sun. So number one, you never have to wind it. Number two, you never have to put a battery in. Kind of crazy.
All worlds.
Solar powered watch. Woo!
I like it.
So who knows? Who knows what they'll come up with next? They're probably going to be AI powered watches, or who knows what's coming. We don't know. Well, Steve Shapiro, you are a rock star. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing some watch wisdom with us.
Oh, this was fun. Thank you for having me on the show.
And that wraps up another episode of Watch Smarts. Listen, if you love this show, if you love watches, subscribe, download, leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform, and check out all the free resources waiting for you at watchsmarts.com.